Does everyone remember when, like,
That was a
before
long time
OpenAI
ago.
was famous for GPT, the one thing that it was like kind of
Yep.
famous for that at least people in the tech industry knew was Dota was like winning video game competitions. That was their first big breakthrough.
And the funny thing, I think back then, Dota wasn't something that took the world for storm. I mean, maybe only the research community kind of knew about it, but it wasn't anything practical. But what was impressive, it was beating a lot of the best Dota players. So Dota is this complex game of resources and planning, right? And they implemented a lot of kind of reinforcement learning type of techniques in there, which I think were also inspired early days from AlphaGo and AlphaZero as well on how it solved Go.
Yeah.
It wasn't just brute forcing through it, but actually having a reward function and trying to solve towards it. And even this is why there's just so much talk about Q learning, because that's sort of the fundamental algorithms behind the family of algorithms behind RL.
So yeah, so like because of Dota, they got really good at doing reinforcement learning. That's how they got it to work. They just had it play against itself like a million games. And then how does that connect to O1?
So I think this is where there's a bit of a big stepping function, because how do you then incorporate that into the family of GPT type of models? GPT is all generative based on predicting the next token and patterns, and then getting those results to check that they're correct. So I think a lot of it is you had to have a lot of data that was factually correct and fed into probably the model and the training, and having a reward function that get it to reason a bit more about the output and make sure that is correct. So they've probably done a lot of interesting techniques with that, and there's probably a lot of secret sauce on the type of data sources they've done. Maybe one of the speculations we could do is a lot of very factually correct information.
Like math problems and science problems and things like that. Yeah.
And that's why it outperforms so much on those.
Yes. Yeah. One of the things I think is interesting, Gary, to your point about the scaling laws, is a lot of people are really focused on the next like scale up of the model, like the GPT-5 series of models, which are being trained now and people are working on them and they are going to come out. But I think people may be underappreciating how big an unlock this other direction is, because there's two research directions being explored in parallel, right? Like one is the straightforward scale up of the underlying LLM, and then this O1 direction is like a totally orthogonal research direction in which you unhobble the model by having it do reinforcement learning while actually trying to do things in the real world and getting better at them. The version that's come out so far, it's still only O1 mini, and if you look at the actual
O1 preview.
Sorry, O1 preview. And like, if you look at the performance stats that they released, like the full O1 model, which is coming out any day now, is